Fine.
There we go.
The new dots are down in the city, so.
Okay, thank you, Brittany.
Hopefully next week.
Okay, thanks everybody for coming tonight. So we kind of have what we talked about last time, kind of all in the whole form of a law. So you guys just want to review it quick. And then we have a little bit of time before the next meeting, if you guys want to look at it again, and then we'll present it to the public at the meeting and hand it out on the website. So we're still waiting on two more anyway, Matt and Gary.
I'm saying my prayers.
Well, then why are you speaking?
Dear Lord, please let this be the last time they hear him.
So just so everyone's aware of what they're looking at, one of these packets is the draft local law, with the sections, definitions, things like that. And then the two other packets are the registration form for the short-term rental. One is for an owner-occupied structure. The other is for a not owner-occupied structure, so basically a multifamily, two-family, or one-family dwelling. The registration fees are one of the things that you guys had asked about. We came up with two fees, for a first-time registration or a first-time submission, either $275 or $500. We put both on each application, so you guys could, or registration form, that way you guys could choose, and then the renewal, we just left it 100.
Also.
Yeah.
That's the math in the table over there. Okay. We do know that.
Just good job. Did you look at the application?
They're different.
Maybe.
I just see owner occupied and non-owner occupied. That's the other.
You read through both of them?
No. Now we're getting complicated.
Damn, if Tyler's suffice, I don't have to read it.
You just said
No, he said he read the
The
whole.
law
the
part.
law part, yes, yeah.
He was sufficed with that. I mean, the application generally really is for us.
But yeah, it's a motion, you guys, if you guys are happy with it. You guys have to read these things.
What if you decide you want to switch to what?
You're gonna pay someone to fill it out.
That's fair.
My finger, you know.
You can ask me to remember what it is. I put my attention on it.
Yeah, circle it.
I'm just putting my name on it.
Some of the stuff. You got typos in there. Someone else. Right, I'm just saying, like, the sections of appeals and hearings and stuff like that. I assume that just copy and paste from everything else. Everywhere, no copy and paste.
Should then, should not really like,
It was a defect in the copy from,
Yeah.
it, so I had to retype it. Which one now?
Is there a definition for CEO?
Code enforcement officer?
Thank you.
Right.
I didn't say that. What was the last page you said? What was it?
No, I didn't say there was.
No, for typo.
No, I
Oh,
didn't say there was, I said I didn't really, I just. Read.
Okay, don't-
Those sections.
I was like, there's no typos, one second.
Yeah.
I have to check that. There are spaces. There's double spaces in some of the spots, which I'm like after short term double space rental in some of the spots and all of them. There's
Funny if you would say that.
as we see it. Peter, I'm sorry, normally it would be code enforcement officer and then after that it should say CEO from now on, so I'm sorry for not having. Oh, man.
We're waiting for Matt and Gary.
Not only that, but
Well,
we're just
we're
reviewing
reviewing.
them on.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt's gonna be a little late. He's still in Rye.
And Ryan?
Yeah.
He's
Not
gonna
gonna
make
it.
He's gonna-
I
don't think he's making it.
Well,
Poor Matt. Gary's the young stuff.
Oh, is he?
No,
Oh,
He didn't respond back. Oh, maybe he did by now.
Another thing in the introductory local law, it's got permit slash approval or registration slash permit in here a couple times. Or
Have we decided on the line?
I talked to Ben briefly about this. He hasn't reviewed anything, obviously, so he didn't have a lot of input, but he said just off of our brief discussion, that permit would probably make more sense.
And registration.
You can't revoke a registration. You can revoke a permit because,
Worst case scenario.
but I'll have to look into that because the New York State was a registration, so that's why we were.
Not
kind
sure
of-
about which one.
Right.
Like why chapter X, you guys would figure out a chapter before it.
I can figure it out.
You specifically, actually.
I don't even know what chapter we're on, but we got too many laws as it is.
There's a couple of placeholder chapters. actually.
It's good. Pretty much everything we talked about already.
Yeah, something like that. And then the other thing that is really more of a Ben question is just the verbiage I use for the revision policy. I think there's probably a fancier way to say that, but. When I gave you that.
Right, we put that note, said, what is it, a license or registration permit? It's a Gaelic question, right?
Yeah,
Right, that's what.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not only that, but we should take it away. From it.
Yeah. The only reason that we said that was because New York State is working on a registration law. I know. But, you know, he brought it up, so I was trying to put it in there. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Greater than the state.
Oh, yeah, no, but we were just trying to be. Helpful. Yeah.
Tyler's in.
You're familiar with X.5?
Okay.
You're familiar with X.5A subdivision? D number A6?
Which one?
Are you,
Where's
Right
that?
here.
are you?
Where is that?
Oh, well, I am gonna ask you about something, but
Okay.
it's a little bit lengthy.
Fires must be attended.
So, I know one thing is if you come from, there's like DEC laws about bringing wood in from other, areas. It could have be infested with.
Yeah, they're not really checking that anymore. They haven't in at least 2 years.
I'm saying you could throw it in there, make them buy wood storage. From a local guy.
Yeah.
Local-
Ash trees have really died everywhere in the state, so. No.
Been a long week.
Oh, I wanted to-
It might be Friday for me, so.
Ooh, nice.
I'll be here tomorrow. All right, anybody have any questions they'd like to start with, or? I've seen Peter,
Peter?
because he made the most marks I've seen.
I don't receive. Property to have, on letter I, on property requirements, must have a minimum of one off-road parking space for every bedroom. I get it if you're having multiple adults in there, but. Okay, I mean, is that why we're doing it, in case they're renting it to several different people? Like if I come in there with one pair of adults and 4 kids. You're gonna take up 3 bedrooms, but. Yeah, I guess if you're,
So this is the law that we went to, that class 4 that Mike liked, which we took. I would just say that yes, we shouldn't assume, right? But I would think that they would want to know that if there's 4 bedrooms, in the event you have
Mhm.
4 adults coming,
yep.
that there's plenty of parking.
Makes sense.
I would,
Right.
that's what I would,
Is there anything that we can do beyond having a tight fitting cover on the garbage collection? I mean, we're not enforcing bear proof or in sheds or.
so New York State Code, which is where I believe Kara got that from. So New York State Code says tight fitting lids. I had talked about, we had kind of talked about having a enclosure, which, you know, it was briefly
Discussed.
So if they have issues with the bears and they're littering, then we go after them on the littering laws.
Yes,
property name.
yeah. It's no different than anybody else that lives
Yeah.
up on the lake.
Exactly.
Okay,
Okay, but just so everybody's clear, because I think sometimes people get confused with violations and what they do. So if I send you a violation because your garbage cans are overflowing
Mhm.
and the bears keep getting into it. When I send you a violation, you notify me, I got you, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna clean it up, it's cleaned up. There's no fines, there's no fees. Just so you know. I continue to violate you because the bear is feasting on your stuff week after week after week after week. Still, there is no fines or fees from the building department. When I take you to court and you are just a property owner and not a resident of this town, let's just say that you're Airbnb-ing a property, you own that property, you don't live here. And you go to the judge and I have violated you for several months and it's $250 every week and the judge said, and the judge asked the prosecution, what do you? And we say $1,000. And I say, the person who lives out of town, who's only making money off this town and doesn't care that I'm doing all this work, Your Honor, that's a little steep. Okay, $100. So just let you know how it works.
Mhm.
That's literally,
now what about you said, then these are non-residents.
no, I'm taking a
Examples.
particular
Okay.
Yeah.
case that you're
But-
familiar with.
Yes.
How it
So,
happened.
okay, but residents have the same.
Residents have the same
Residents
thing,
have it.
right, but I'm just,
Yeah, we ran into that in Shawanga Lodge, same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Residents seem to be more. I cleaned it up right away, the
Mhm.
two on Fire Tower Road, Fire Tower Road. 2 on Fire Tower Road, we had the same thing, we sent the violation out, they called right up. The garbage has been cleaned up and they are residents of the town, so I'm not saying one versus the other, but.
Okay.
That's just how it goes, so when everybody says, well, you're gonna send them a violation. I'm just sending them a violation, say, do it, whatever, by the
Mhm.
time I get you to court. The judge is the one that does the fine.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why even in this, we put in there that somebody has to be able to get here at a certain amount of time because we don't want the garbage to be there for a week.
That
No.
full-time property.
Right.
Right.
So that's part of the whole application fee.
Quiet hours. Are they the same 7 days a week or the weekends different?
What's the town ordinance? Is it 10 to 7?
Um,
I had the same
Don't we
question.
have a quiet hour? We just have like a construction time frame.
Right.
You guys want to pull that down? So we can hear you.
I don't know if we have
Oh,
a.
I heard you. I don't want to text saying they're not talking into the mic.
oh, I forget where I'm.
Right,
That's what I'm.
So
saying.
and I thought it varied on weekends or Sundays were different than. Yeah.
Lawn mowing is really the only thing I think on Sunday mornings, to be honest with you.
That's all week though, construction.
Is, yeah,
Construction is just 7 a.m., between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m.
right, but the,
Oh, no,
Start earlier.
so.
Sounds created by lawnmowers between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. weekdays and 10 a.m. between 9 p.m. Sunday is an exception to any noise ordinance. So in that case, you could say 9:01 p.m. to 7:59 a.m. would be the quiet hours on weekdays. And 9:01 p.m. to 9:59 a.m. is the quiet hours on Sunday.
Would we want to
Should-
amend?
Should match the law, right?
Yeah.
So quiet hours would be from 9 p.m. to
Yeah.
8 a.m.
9 people, so, and that's. Good, I love stuff there.
So exceptions to the noise ordinance, lawn mowers between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. So the quiet times would then be 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. on weekdays. And on Sunday, I don't know why Saturday is not counted. 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. is when you can operate, so it'd be 9 p.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday.
I mean, could we,
Do you want to differentiate or do you want to?
Airbnb is our mowing the lawn.
no.
So I don't think we have to worry about them changing that. And I mean, we already have, right, that's our law or New York's law.
That's town of Mammoth meeting.
Oh, so it's in our
Okay.
law, right?
But so guests are
No, I
requested.
don't, I don't, whatever, what is our, you don't actually have quiet hours.
We don't actually have fire.
Okay, so then the times don't matter. If we had quiet hours, I think it should match what ours say, but if we don't have an actual quiet hours, then I don't think. I mean, unless.
Right.
People want different hours, you know. what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
And most of the time they have to call the cops anyway. That happens all the time, so. We don't go out and check at 10 o'clock at night that somebody's being loud.
Yeah, I don't think.
So they have to call the cops anyway. And as long as our law states what it does, they're supposed to enforce it. But doesn't always work.
Mhm.
So you want 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. on here?
Whatever the current law is.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. I like the idea of being, having that peace and quiet, but at the same time, if it's different than what our other laws are, then.
Yeah.
it Sounds like we're. Being, more restrictive. Somebody gets out and kids are making noise,
Our,
I mean, but if you go into our noise ordinance, prohibited acts, the operation of a radio, phonograph, or use of musical instruments in such a manner or with such a volume as to annoy or disturb the quiet comfort or repose of any person in any dwelling, hotel, or other type of residence. So, and that's anytime,
anytime.
right? Yeah. I'm-
75.
The decibel reading is 75, which is what
At the property
the
line.
actually sheriff has a decibel readers, the Ulster County, Sullivan County, sorry, sheriff. Oh. Oh. Well, if you call the sheriff's department has a decibel reader and they will.
Hmm.
They come more than the state police do. I just. I mean, the state police as a satellite, it's a satellite here. They do mostly. I can show you an email for somebody who
More criminal,
wants to just say.
Sheriff, I think, and of course, civil complaints.
Exactly. You call the sheriff's department, they'll say, call the town, that's not us. You call the sheriff's department, they'll enforce our noise ordinance and, something else,
Parking.
parking.
Mhm.
So they will enforce, yeah, they will enforce some of the things for the town. So that's why I say that, no offense to.
Well, it actually happened out by me over the summer, 3 weekends in a row that this one house had a band and they played nonstop and we got the emails on it. And the state police won't do anything. The sheriffs, the first time they told them to keep it down and they kept it going and they ended up shutting it down later, and
Yeah.
all 3 weeks they ended up having to go back. So,
I'm on. Because I didn't finish the rest of it. But
We'll come back to.
so, but one of my other concerns was, I mean, I think at this point, if I recall, we're not really looking to. We're putting a number, a cap on it, we're not capping.
No,
And
cap.
We're waiting to see what's gonna happen.
what's out there?
I think. The concern that I would have is not so much the cap, and I know it's difficult to pick a particular region to say we're gonna limit how many are in the Lake region, how many in this, district or whatever. But not owner occupied, I think we need to be able to look at, and so my encouragement is that that's one of the things that we need to look at next year. If we're
Right,
going to do
revisit it.
this, to say, we need to make sure that somebody's not going out and buying lots of property, that they're not looking to start buying up everything in the area and turning it into a short-term rental, and then we're losing the primary, the
Mhm.
residences, we're losing, long-term rentals, things like that. And I mean, that's something that I'm very much in favor of, not allowing somebody to come up and overly commercialize this. You want, you don't live there, but you have a house, you got one. Shouldn't be allowed to have 2, 3, 4 of them.
But also, how do you regulate that? I own one. Mary's babysitting business owns one.
Right, we talked about.
Mary's
that-
grass mowing owns
that-
one.
that-
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, I'm just,
By enforcing who the owner of the LLC is, having that, we dictate that you need to specify who that LLC is owned by, who the primary, the principal officers are.
and you propose after a year, after this has been in for a year, you want to revisit and put that in the sunset.
Or to
one of
look
the-
at that, yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Absolutely look to see what's going on.
Yes. And based on the housing market right now anyway, stuff's a little expensive to just keep buying stuff and, everywhere in the town of Mamakating has increased. And the housing market has slowed down a little bit. I mean, we've seen it in the mortgage tax. So, it's definitely going down, and Airbnb is different now too, because you talk to the county and they're the first ones that want to give up the Airbnb money because they know it's going down too. So, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue that people just keep buying stuff up, because I think it's not as booming as it was during COVID.
But I think if we give ourselves that year to at least implement and see what the applications are, see how many people are gonna
Where and-
register. I don't personally, I don't see a lot of new applicants coming out from nowhere. I think a lot of the people who already have them are gonna look to comply with the law and say, let's get legitimate,
Right.
versus having people who have just been sitting on the sideline waiting, saying, oh, I've been waiting for you to get that law going.
Right. Same with bungalows. People rent a bungalow, gets bad reviews and they don't go back and they never rent it again.
Right.
That's when it was during COVID, we were finding shacks, that people wanted $100 a night for. And, they're sleeping with the rats, kind of deal. So I think those have kind of weaned out too.
I think that 1 year reviews, or however often we decide to do it.
Maybe we can even review it in 6 months. It doesn't have to be a year, whatever we decide. If there's an issue, we can always just bring it up. That's why we put the sunset thing in there, to always revisit it,
Not sunset.
whatever.
Thank you.
Sunset means it goes away, so. No
We're gonna
sunset.
keep calling it a sunset because I don't care what it means.
Yeah.
It's not our definition, guys.
Put it in definitions.
We'll change it.
I'll change the definition.
Navigating only, sunset means.
This law only.
Just
Did,
all.
did you have anything else, Peter, on that?
Well, if we're gonna go look at the registration, I'm in charge. I'm in favor of the higher registration, but
so just, Peter, just so you know, we did, do a mock. So the 275 would be the lowest that I think that we could go to. Considering if there was an issue and we had to go back, we were doing like the worst case for you. So that would be the lowest
right.
to cover our costs.
And then when there's a problem and then you have to go out there and you visit it, or you have to send letters of violation.
We didn't calculate.
That get remedied afterwards.
Yeah.
Or, it's that's still something that's taking your time, that's not accounted for, because
Right.
there's no violation being, no fines being, issued. And I mean, there's still, other than the implementation and getting the permit put in place, there's still going to be more work for you guys, you girls.
Definitely.
Afterwards. So, I mean, if we go with the bare bones minimum, I mean, it's like everything else, that it's always taking more time and there's always more expenses involved after the fact. So I think, if we cover ourselves at least on that.
Even the research of making sure that we have them all. It's gonna be,
And there again, it's something we can revisit, you go through and say, look, I've spent almost no time at all on this. And we're making money on it, like, okay, let's go back and look at it, but I think, we should at least cover our bases and make sure that it's not costing us anything. And then, and I also listened to, what one of the comments was, at our last meeting, where a young lady got up and spoke, it was an Airbnb, and she's like, go for it, put the higher fee on it, and, legitimate people are making enough money to cover that, and we don't have a problem with that. That was refreshing.
Just a dumb quick question for you guys, like the renewal process is gonna be much simpler and easier,
The
right?
renewal
Quicker.
process should just be making sure they're still the owner, that they don't have any violations that we're aware of when we look at the folder. If they're doing it the same, they haven't changed bedrooms, parking, built anything that would change it, so it should be quicker.
Okay.
We'll see when we get there. 100 is, for the most part, the renewal fee for permits that haven't expired yet. So it's kind of just keeping it consistent with what we already do.
Okay.
Jim, you got anything?
This one paragraph on here, I did find a spelling mistake. in that word.
Dang it,
Oh,
where?
I don't know, somewhere into this thing, wherever this is.
Oh, ticker, set a ticket, would you look at that? Wow, guys, it was an honor working with you.
You gotta be careful with like things like section is at an X or Roman numeral 10. X.7 conformity and display.
So the
Yeah.
X you guys are gonna change when you actually make this a law.
So it
So
would
that's
be,
the
it would be
placeholder.
like 199-72 would be the code, and then it would be -7.
At that large A section, small a,
Yeah,
Which again, you guys can change that.
starts out with if the CEO has probable cause.
okay.
You guys would be on that?
Mhm.
It just, I see the words probable cause and then I see enter the premises, man, that's something you really gotta be careful with. Entering premises. I don't know where you came up with that
That's
section.
from the-
This is from the the New York State
That's all.
class that we went to, so it was copy and pasted.
There might want to be an asterisk by that, like you better take police with you and make sure you're doing everything legally.
Again,
It asks for
In other
permission.
words, like you can't go in there and say, well, I think there are more people in there it should be and just go into somebody's house.
right,
Period. That's second, Fourth Amendment. stuff.
Right.
So I would just be really, maybe
Wouldn't
show
that-
Ben this section.
Wouldn't this be more of my understanding, and we've gotten several complaints or people come to us that have worked in your house, have been in your house and said, you have more than 4 bedrooms, you have 6. I'd like to do an inspection.
Yes, but I understand what he's saying as well. So. So, the good news is that we got this all down, pretty much closed it. And Ben has not looked at this yet.
Oh, yeah, wait till he gets close to where we did that.
I'd be back at it
As long
again.
as he gets his clerks to retype it, that's fine, so.
Ben is also a attorney for another town. And I don't know the whole scenario, how it went down, but this other town, I believe, is going to be banning Airbnbs. Apparently there was something where a town issued a permit. I don't know, somebody got injured. I don't know don't quote me, I don't know the whole thing. However, this building inspector now has to go every Saturday before somebody checks in and verifies that there is the life and safety. I don't know if it was a smoke detector. I don't know what it is, but it's out there. I don't know the whole specifics of it. But Ben will know better when he. Liability issues,
Isn't
I
that
guess what is.
What a signed affidavit is supposed to help resolve.
I'm just telling you
Right.
what I heard. It's just, and Ben, when Kira called Ben today, he's like, oh, I didn't, he didn't, because we're working on this,
Right.
so. I
Which
don't
he'll
know.
get it after today.
Yeah.
We'll send it to him. He'll look over it over the weekend and then he'll have comments for us on
Right.
Tuesday.
I mean,
Should
understand that.
should that be the case every Saturday? I'm out.
I get it, and I think, and that was,
300 different.
Sounds like you're leaning towards that we should just put it in the bulk table as an allowed use and have no law.
No, that's not, I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I guess as things go along and people get injured and attorneys get involved, I don't know how it all comes
It's
about.
like the restaurant, we allow restaurants, but you can't sue us because we allowed the restaurant, right? So it'd be the
There's
same
still an
thing.
approval process for
But-
the restaurant,
But
though.
here's the thing, you put in a swimming pool, you have to have an alarm. Why do you have to have an alarm? You have no kids.
But the-
In case somebody comes in your yard and jumps in your pool, but that's New York state law. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
we live in a stupid state sometimes.
And I used to jump in your pool all the time. You never even knew it.
But that's how things, you start out having a pool, and now the next thing is fences and alarms, and your doors need to be alarmed at the fences. So same thing with the Airbnb. These things are coming and now people are getting hurt or whatever it may be, and now lawyers are involved and lawsuits are involved, so.
and following through on what Jim was pointing out, if we go to section .8, compliance and penalties, subsection B, if the code enforcement officer witnesses or receives a written complaint of an alleged violation of this section or of any other short-term rental permit issued pursuant to the section, the CEO shall properly record such complaint and immediately investigate the report thereon. I mean, so how do you investigate a complaint? Isn't that basically the same thing?
She calls in and asks for permission to inspect the property.
Well, I mean, but I think technically it's the same thing as if you were to call me and say, my neighbor is blah, 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 I'd have to go, and kind of see if it's visible from the road, if it, then if not, then I have to go knock on the door and then, I mean, depending on what the violation is, again, this is,
Take
So if
immediate
refusal- So if the person refuses to let you in, then what?
then we have to get,
What's the default?
we have to get
They
it,
revoked the Airbnb license.
well,
Suspend.
to let me in, I'd have to get a court order from the judge, Supreme Court to let me in.
We're going to
But do we-
there, Mary. If they
is-
don't
is-
let you in, it's the Airbnb, you just.
I'm just telling you in violation, period. If I go to you and I can't see it from the road, I knock on your door and I say, I got a violation, blah, blah, blah. And you say, you're not coming in, getting with my property. The only way for me to gain access legally is to go to the attorney, go to Supreme Court to get access to come in. Yes, here we could say.
And that
it's in
takes
this remote.
months.
Right, and do we have that word?
Section X.10 grounds for suspension or revocation of permit. And it breaks down how it could be suspended. Falsified or failed to provide information, failed to meet or comply with any requirements of this chapter, violation of any provisions of the code, violated any provisions of the penal code of the state of New York, which occurred at or related to the occupancy of the short-term rental, any conduct on the premises which disrupts the health, safety, peace, or comfort of the neighborhood, or which otherwise creates a public nuisance, and I would assume if we received a complaint in regards to it, they would be able to.
I think that we should probably put in, I mean, all of that. You know, those are all good, but it leaves out the burden, it leaves the burden of proof on us to say that there is an actual violation, because they're not letting you in the house, and they're saying, no, I don't have, you know, that's.
I'm sorry, but I believe in the affidavit, they sign
There is a spot that's.
that they say,
That within reason,
Authorize the town of Mamakating code enforcement officer to inspect the property to ensure compliance with all requirements and standards contained within the town and state laws when deemed necessary. So it's not
Right.
just saying they're gonna go out, it's,
Right.
we
Okay.
received a complaint.
No, that's good, and that covers those.
At the, just before, Jim, if you had more questions, comments, I'm sorry. So on the registration forms, there's a note on the top of both of them after submit the signed form. Important, this form does not contain all information you need to know and address as an applicant or manager of the short-term rental. We could, don't want to make it too bulky, of course, but we could always include the local law or specific sections of the local law in regards to the requirements and what they need to maintain when we actually give them the permit, if it's decided to be a permit.
Ignorance of the law.
That way they can't.
Save the paper, it's right here, visit our website, I just went. If you're
making
stuck,
sure.
click on the link, give it down.
Alright. Thank you. Jim, any more?
I mean, would it help you, Peter, if we took out immediately investigate? Let's say, and investigate and report.
No, it really needs to be immediate because, right. Or a fire, or anything. You know,
I think we're.
I think at her discretion.
because Mary does get called out in the middle of the night for some things. Not too often, but mostly fires and stuff like that.
These two are the same, these two applications.
They're basically the
except for-
same, it's just the owner occupied.
yeah.
There was discussion at the last workshop on whether or not the registration fee would be the same.
You guys were kind of in the middle, so we did both.
So if there,
And the split fee was for the size of the house?
no, the split fee was $275 is the minimum would cover us, and then 500 is what had previously been discussed.
I did hear from an Airbnb who says that she hasn't made a lot of money doing it and $500 would be a hit.
So, pretty good. Let's cover our
It
absence.
was that owner occupied?
Lives on the property. It's not like in the same house.
Yeah,
Could be owner occupied though.
well, I mean, right, but I think if there's two properties on two houses or two structures on that are
I think
legal
lives right
structures.
there, has a nice little house on the side that they,
Yeah, so if it's on two structures, I think we kind of went over two structures on one property, we kind of went over this, that we would consider that owner occupied, which if you chose to, would be the $275 for an owner occupied. But again, I think you guys were kind of split on that, so we did both, that's,
I'm okay with having an owner occupied with a slightly lower. You know, whether it's 275 or if we're above that, you know, something under the 500. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen with all this stuff when the ADU laws get passed. Accessory dwelling units, start renting out your shed. Right, I mean, all stuff that's coming down the pipe. Anyway.
That'll be your guys'
It
next
happens.
workshops again.
Never mind.
You gotta think about it.
But no, I mean, my opinion, you know, on that is. I think owner occupied, it would be, is something that I think we would encourage more than. Having people buying up properties, in which case, a slightly higher fee would be in line. With everybody else. That.
He's in one piece. No ticket, come on up there.
Here.
We got your seat.
Anything else?
Hey, Matt, how you doing? See it. Good to see you.
I mean, I got some philosophical stuff.
Let's hear it.
Well, it seems like Airbnb and these rental businesses are evolving. You know, where they really are changing their way of doing business. Are there really a lot of problems? Are we over-regulating this industry? You know, are there really problems? I hear rumors of things, but are there really like I work in another town. A couple of years ago, we had 1 or 2 houses that were a problem, and I work in a town where there's a lot of Airbnbs. There's a huge resort in that town. A lot of people Airbnb, and we had 1 house that was constantly a problem. That was about it. We took care of it. Garbage, kids jumping in the pool, screaming, that kind of stuff. But I mean, it seems like Airbnb is evolving. They're making you give government ID, picture ID before they rent it. Last 4 of your, so they're making sure they're renting it. The person renting it is the person staying there. Is there really issues?
I guess my question to you would be then.
That's philosophically, that's all
Right,
I'm saying.
okay, so going philosophically, realistically, if we look at what we're putting together. Other than having more or less a registration, so we know where these short-term rentals are. And ensuring that they're following the rules. I mean, we're not really, there's very little in here that makes our laws any different to short-term rentals than it would be to any other resident.
I agree.
There's very little in there that we're doing. We're just,
So why is it needed then? That's my point. Why can't we, we already have all the laws on the books. I think we should start with a registration. That's how I feel. Philosophically, and see what we have once we get a registration going.
to ensure that, because there are some bad actors and there are some issues, so.
So, well, let me finish one more point. So we regulate the Airbnb guy, but the person who's lived there 50 years, that has a huge blowout anniversary live band weekend, we don't really do anything to.
I don't think that would necessarily be true.
Well, normally
somebody-
those guys tell the neighbors that, hey, I'm gonna have a party this weekend. It's gonna.
And they'll invite the
That-
neighbors,
that's what usually
let's say,
happens.
or they would call the police, like if there was a noise
It's a one-time. thing.
disturbance and.
And
they-
30 cars in the roadway on
Yeah.
a little town road.
They would
Yeah.
be calling the police.
That's how they made it. They were the police.
Yeah.
We knew who it was, though.
Yeah, we knew.
We knew who it
Orange
was.
cones doing wonders. It's just,
We're not calling Mary, we're calling your mom.
I mean, I see what Jim is saying, but I think that would be calling the state police saying there's loud music, which is a noise ordinance, there's,
Yeah, they show up and turn the music
Right.
down. Okay.
yeah,
That-
get these cars off the road, but I mean, that's just,
But that's also,
ultimately, that's what this is too, that would be calling the police, knocking on the
but
door.
with the STR, you're dealing with somebody who's doing it on a regular basis. Whereas the resident who has a party a year or for their, 50th anniversary blowout or whatever, it's very sporadic.
and we're also trying to protect both sides. We're trying to protect the neighbor to a point, and then we're also trying to protect the Airbnbs, the successful ones that are, following the rules and some aren't. So that's, one of the reasons why this whole thing's been pushed. Because we had so many that doesn't even pop up. They're on Facebook Marketplace and they're renting out a camper. Those are the kind of things that we're trying to stop. So it benefits both. It helps the neighborhood. It also helps the neighbors that they know that there's some sort of law that they're violating. And
I think somebody wanted to ask something out there.
Will we help answer that question?
well, we kind of know most of the answers already.
Ray was just going to bring up some issues that happen in the neighborhood of why we want to regulate. That come up? That's.
Well, we're not really doing public comment. So we're gonna do that in our public comment, the public hearing. So we're trying to keep it just as a workshop, especially tonight. So, we're just trying to get this kind of straightened out. And we've heard a lot of the stories on Yankee Lake already, so. Kathy, don't let us go without telling us. Yeah, always. Yeah. Yeah, you can email to any one of the councilmen or even myself at town hall.
Tuesday will be public comment.
Not this Tuesday.
Okay.
We're gonna set a public hearing.
Yep.
As long as everything comes back with Ben and everybody's ready to move on from it, so. I know, Matt, you're a little late, but if you have any questions,
Matt, right now, you're just looking at the application. There's two applications underneath that is the actual law that we took out all the stuff that you guys had asked and.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the things that we've kind of left open was the difference in registration fees. Mary, you were saying that she put down two different figures here. For first time registration between 275 to 500. She's saying that she believes that 275 is the absolute minimum that it would take to cover the town's costs to go through the permits and to take care of it. And 500 was. I don't know. There you go, number, right. And then but the discussion also went, do we charge more to owner occupied or charge less for owner occupied? If it's your house or you have another house on your property and you're there, do we give those people a little bit of concession? And then for people who have just strictly an Airbnb and don't live on the property, don't live in town, charge them a higher rate. I'm in favor of that. I think if 275 is the absolute minimum, that I think we could probably go a little bit above it because that's covering everything it takes to register and do what we're doing, but you know that there's gonna be follow-up issues that you may have to do violations or things that we're not gonna get any kind of fines with, but still taking time out of the code enforcement at that point. So just to cover any future expenses that might be happening, I think if we're gonna just cut it that closely, we're saying, okay, 275 covers it, that's all we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't give you any leeway.
so you wanna try and put that in there as 350 and then 500 for a
I'd be fine.
non-occupant.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Me too.
So 350 instead of 275?
And then 500 for right.
And the registrations every 2 years? Every year.
We have 1 year on here.
$100.
Because we are gonna relook at it in a year.
In a
What-
year anyway.
Yeah.
So
This
for right
could
now,
always be
just,
updated at that after.
We were talking about revisiting. After 1 year,
Yeah.
once the law is implemented, that we're gonna go back and revisit, we'll look at the caps. We'll look at the entire law and see what's working, but there's certain issues that might not be, that we can go back and.
And if we even feel like the registration's too close, maybe we go 2 years.
It says the town may revisit the local law again anytime it deems necessary.
Right.
So, but it says in and around a year. For sure.
I have one question now, and I think I asked this the last time, but what are you guys, because this is obviously gonna fall on you guys, owner occupied versus non-owner occupied. what do you want for proof? Just their driver's license and their
we can do
address is the address that they're renting,
That's probably good.
right? So now we make, I know it makes it complicated, that's why I almost the flat fee is
What's-
easier, because you have to, now you guys have to figure out how you're gonna let people prove that they're owner
So-
occupied.
Where's the tax bills go?
Well, yeah, we could be taking a look at where they are paying their taxes, what their mailing address is on file. If it's a PO box, it gets a little difficult, but I think really owner occupied versus not owner occupied was really just a two-family or multifamily dwelling would be considered owner occupied, or a property with multiple dwellings on it would be considered owner occupied, so long as their mailing address is for that location.
However, the assessor's office does have, if you live at that property, you have a star exemption. So if there's no star exemption, I would presume that you are not owner occupied, because you would want to get that
Is that
exemption.
gonna be a hassle for you to verify that?
And I'm gonna throw another
No.
curveball in there, what about like a snowbird that leaves for the winter and wants to rent their house for 2 months and comes back and lives here for 8 months out of the year, or 10 months out of the year? Are they considered owner occupied or not owner occupied?
That's 5 months and 30
Okay.
days. Cause you gotta be 6 months in a day to get residents in Florida, I think, or some other place, so.
You get my point, Joe, right? That
Yeah,
people
oh,
like
yeah.
you for a month and want to rent their house out for a month, but live here full time. Otherwise, I would consider them owner occupied. See, I'm just throwing. all
Yeah,
this
but
out
it's
there,
not.
'cause it's-
Well, but they aren't
it's un-
really.
It's not though, because they're not there at the same time.
If they can't.
They have to
prove that
be
they're
there at the
it
same
defaults to the higher rate.
You know, so if they're a snowbird, they're not here.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
how we're defining, it. Someone has to be on the same piece of property.
Yeah.
Right.
In a dwelling,
And a dwelling,
not in a tent or
or a
another.
camper.
Okay.
We have Dents and whatnot now, so.
A yurt.
A yurt.
Yurts.
I
Yurts.
saw that.
A yurt.
I want one now.
A yurt.
I mean, too, and just, I know we're having conversation and Jim brought it up and Tyler even said, put it in the bulk tables. Listen, it's a commercial entity. They're providing a service for profit.
Yeah.
They could get a special use permit and then provide everything to the planning board to have this and take it out of the code enforcement hands.
That's not what I was saying. I was making.
You
it
said put
a permitted use, no planning board approval, just.
But
get
it's a
permit.
commercial,
No.
so you can just open a garage, fix it on your property and, you don't have to.
Sometimes.
I do.
Yeah, but we don't have that for rentals.
Renters don't really do it for profit. They do it to cover their taxes.
Yeah, that's not,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
people to rentals to make money, not to just cover tax bills, right?
You know, it's,
Matters how long they've owned them.
You're, rentee, I don't know which one you're considered.
I'm just-
You're a good landlord. You're a great landlord.
Right, they
Listen,
can put
I don't
sun
yeah. You know,
in there.
like I said, rentals aren't considered in the bulk table and we have tons of renters.
I know,
Half of Woodsboro Hills is renters.
I
Yeah.
know, I wanted that in the law, but I voted. So
One thing at
I'm
a
just
time.
trying to make it,
We're racking
so
our
that-
head on this one.
I understand. I
Right.
just throwing different options.
Jumping back to your question, John, part of the mock review we did was checking what the assessor's records had. So it would be included in it already.
Okay.
It's just more thought into it now instead of just let's just do a mock run through. But it is something that we decided to check because it would be something that comes up.
All right, so
Perfect.
somebody can supply the proof that they are receiving the STARS exemption, that would be a green light towards.
Consider.
That would
it
be
might
considered a
owner
resident.
occupied, Yeah. Which is something that we would just look up for them, because it would be if they wanted to provide us with proof, that'd be fine, but it is something we would kind of already be checking by looking at the assessor's record.
You're gonna look and see if it's a two family or if it's two.
The
pieces
legal
that-
use
Right, two
and-
houses
yeah.
on the same piece of
Right.
property already.
Right.
So it's easy for you guys to confirm that they are, it's just another step that you guys will have to take
Right.
to confirm.
But it's also part of, I think, the whole process of Also going by, that we have a 4-bedroom house, and when they go to the assessor's records, they're gonna see what the house is listed as. And if it's not listed as a 4-bedroom. Then have right to inspect it, they have proof. Or they're violating.
So while the assessor's office may list something as being something, they don't always list it because it's legally that it's being listed that way because that's what they've been told they're using it as, so that's what they're being assessed for. So it won't just be checking it to make sure they match the assessor's records. It's still gonna be checking our records to make sure we have that too. Just to throw that.
Okay, I think we're good. Well, go over it over the weekend, look at it some more. We're gonna send it to Ben tomorrow. And have him look over it at the weekend and then bring it back up on Tuesday. And then if everybody's good, then we're gonna set a public hearing. We'll talk about it in the workshop. And then go from there, see what kind of turnout we get in the public hearing.
Now will we?
I won't be there October 1st.
Will Tuesday, will we put out copies so people can read?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
Tuesday, yeah,
okay,
after Ben gets a chance to look at it.
okay.
So I'll make the updates that, like the fee update you guys mentioned and the update to the time.
And the typo.
And the typo, it won't be ticker anymore, it'll be ticket.
Tickle.
I like
Well,
thicker.
And then I'll send it to Ben, I'll CC Brittany and you on it, that way, any revisions he wants, Brittany will have the Word document, you guys can update it.
Actually, CC everybody. Because when Ben sends it back, at least everybody will get to see, what he's saying. So they'll have an opportunity to weigh in too before Tuesday. All right. Everybody good? All right. Sorry, no public comments tonight, so. Yeah, after the meeting's adjourned. So, so that covers tonight, and then we'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks, Brittany.